What is going on, my Houston Texans family? Now that the dust has settled and we are days removed from the 2025 NFL draft, let's give a grade. We've seen PFF right here give the Houston Texans a B. We've seen Mel Kiper also give the Houston Texans a B. I believe it was a B plus. But what about you? Now that we've done our research on these players, now that we've seen all the highlights, what grade do you give the 2025 draft class for the Houston Texans? I'm going to give you my thoughts, but my name is Ruben Calvillo, and this is the 713 Houston Sportcast, where I drop daily Houston Texans content. So please make sure you're following me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok for the latest Houston Texans news, rumors, and updates. Now, let's start with the first round because the Houston Texans saw their draft crush, someone who they didn't think was going to be available to them at 25, wide receiver Matthew Golden goes 2 picks before them to the Green Bay Packers. He wanted to be a Houston Texans. That's okay. We'll get you in for agency, big dog. Then the Houston Texans saw who I believe was their choice at 25, Donovan Jackson, guard out of the Ohio State, taking to the Minnesota Vikings just one slot before them. I give general manager Nick Caserio credit for trading back out of the first round with the New York Giants, getting pick 34, and getting a third round pick for next year. I wonder if that's going to be used in a trade. With that being said, great counter punch by general manager Nick Caserio, seeing his draft crush and his pick at 25, taking just 2 slots before him. Pick 34 in the second round, the Houston Texans with Jaden Higgins, wide receiver out of Iowa State. Look, I love this move just because of the fact that I got 2 6'4" wide receivers with 4.4 speed on the outside. I think Jaden Higgins is at first going to start off a little slow, but once Nico Collins starts doing his thing and continues to further his push as one of the best wide receivers in this league, Jaden Higgins is going to get more opportunities to shine. This wide receiver room, guys, it's very deep. It's very deep now, especially that you double dipped just a round later and from the same college, Iowa State. But Jaden Higgins, man, I find it hard not to think he's going to be one of your top receiving options for the Houston Texans in 2025. I give that move right there. I give Jaden Higgins a B. I like that. Moving on, second round, Houston Texans traded up offensive lineman Ariante Ursery out of Minnesota. Now, I like this move for the future, for 2026, 2027. That's where I could see Ariante Ursery being a starting tackle for the Houston Texans. But as far as 2025, I don't think we see significant playing time unless he plays in the interior. Now he is 6'6", I believe 330 plus pounds. I don't think that's going to happen. But general manager Nick Caserio has said many times before, we're going to put the 5 best O linemen out there. Now Ursery is very athletic. I believe he ran a 540 for his size. That's insane. So maybe he could move in the inside for maybe 1 to 2 seasons and then kicking outside of being the starter at tackle, for the future for the Houston Texans. I also give this move a B. I give this move, you know what? Let me just go B minus because we're not going to see him in year one. Moving on. The Houston Texans, they go with Jalen Noel, wide receiver out of Iowa State, third round, pick 79. And, a lot of people really had Jalen Noel. Some people had Jalen Noel as a better prospect than Jaden Higgins. Well, now you got two of them. When you really think about it, guys, the Houston Texans got two of the top 10 receivers into this draft class. How can you not be excited about this wide receiver room? Now I wonder about Christian Kirk. I really do. Because like I mentioned with Jaden Higgins, I think he can be a top 3 option for the Houston Texans in 2025. I feel that same way about Jalen No. Is it No or Noel? Please let me know in the comments down below. I think Noah is going to be your explosive player. I think Higgins will get like, let's say 4 catches, 70 yards. But for Noah, will be 2 catches for 80 yards and a touchdown, maybe 2 of them. One of these guys is going to hit. One of these guys is going to be electric. Both of these guys are making history for Iowa State. Jaden Higgins being the highest drafted wide receiver. Ladies and gentlemen, the Texans wide receiver room is completely revamped. It has juice. I wonder who's the odd man out. Is it John Mechie? Is it Xavier Hutchinson? I don't know. Moving on. Jalen Smith, cornerback at a USC. Now, this one I give the Houston Texans a C minus because some experts had Jalen Smith to be a 5th, 6th round selection. This is someone that you traded up for. And I don't think this is someone that is going to see any time in the Houston Texans secondary, barring injury, knock on wood, to Kamari Lassiter and Derek Stingley. But those two are completely locked down. Then you have Jalen Petrie in that nickel role. You got your 2 safeties, Kalen Bullock and CJ Gardner Johnson. It's the first time I get to say that. I think Jalen Smith has a role on special teams, and maybe that's where he makes his money the first couple of seasons. But I like what he brings. Energy, really good against the run. C minus. Moving on to the 4th round, the Houston Texans, they trade up and select Joquavius Marks, Woody Marks for short, running back at a USC. Now I give this one, I'll give it a B minus. I think that you can't consider Marks to be a starting running back of the future. I don't think that fits his profile. I think that you might have found your backup running back for the foreseeable future, though. I think Woody Marks serves you best as a receiving running back, and that's what he was best known for at USC. And I believe it was Mississippi State as well. This season, he had 1,154 yards, and during his time, over 622 collegiate carries, forced 34 missed tackles. Like I mentioned, I think Dare is the odd man out here because he was your receiving back. He was your pass protecting running back, and I think Woody Marks could be pretty good at pass protecting. You get a slight upgrade at the position. You will see him in year 1. The question is how much? Moving on, no selection of the 5th round. Texans 187. Jalen Reed, safety out of Penn State. Like, I have no issue with this pick at all. It's the 6th round, guys. 6th round, you're throwing stuff at the wall, hoping that it sticks. I wish this would have been an offensive lineman. But what you see about Jalen Reed, you look at some of his highlights, man, he is just consistently in the backfield, just blowing up the run. The same thing with Jalen Smith at a USC. Both of these two dudes are swarmers. They're dogs. With Jalen Reed, what you love about him is his high football IQ. It reminds me of John Reed from Penn State just a couple of years ago, same alma mater. Jalen Reed, I think could potentially see significant time on special teams. I don't think we see him barring any injury, but the Texans, they for sure get some depth at safety. Number 6, this is one that I'm just not a fan of. Hey, I gave it an F yesterday, but I'll just go C minus for the plot. Graham Mertz, quarterback out of Florida. Now, I don't think he was even good at Florida. He is coming off of a torn ACL. I don't think Graham Mertz right now is better than Davis Mills at the backup spot. And, for people will say, well, you're drafting your backup of the future. Why not do it next year when you're actually going to need a backup quarterback? Davis Mills is under contract, ladies and gentlemen. I wonder if there's a trade in place for Davis Mills. The past 3 days, I've been bringing up this conspiracy theory that if Kenyon Green and a late round draft pick were traded for C.J. Gardner Johnson, then anything is possible with the Houston Texans. I don't understand this pick at all. I'm not gonna lie to you. Please, someone in the comments below make it make sense. Moving on in the 7th round, Keontae Hamilton, defensive lineman out of Rutgers. One of his best games was against UCLA, 6 pressures, 2 sacks with a 92 pass rush grade. Hamilton, is just, I think, going to be a defensive rotational piece alongside the defensive line. I don't think you pencil him as a starter. What I do love, though, is that you get some youth at the defensive tackle spot, and that was something that I wanted entering the draft, and you did get that with Keontae Hamilton. Would it surprise me if under D'Amico Ryans he blossoms into a capable, serviceable backup? Absolutely not. And then last 255, tight end Luke Lackey out of Iowa. 6'6", a vertical receiver, needs to put on, weight to be considered a true blocking tight end. You see here that he wasn't overly productive at Iowa with just 362 receiving yards on 265 routes over the past 2 seasons. He enters a tight end room that has Dalton Schultz, Kate Stover, Brevin Jordan, I think Irv Smith, and that's about it. So who is going to be the odd man out? Is it Dalton Schultz? I know they could save some money post June 1. I'm not too sure, but we know new offensive coordinator Nick Caley loves himself tight ends, so he gets an opportunity to prove that he can develop tight ends with Luke Lakey out of Iowa. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I give this draft class a B. I think you got two day one impactful players in Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel. I think you also got some other players that could be impactful as early as year one. Woody Marks out of USC, your 4th round pick. And to be honest with you, Jalen Smith and Jalen Reed give you a lot on special teams. So I'm not sure if you want to add that in. But give me one pass to Luke Lakey during this year, and I'll be excited. With that being said, for more Houston Texans content, you guys know what to do. Feel free to follow me for more. Go Houston. Have a very blessed day. I love you guys.